Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and today we will be discussing the creation of a to-do app. And I was basically thinking about this idea that we can create to-dos, and once the user wants to break down the task, like the user just clicks a button and the task automatically breaks down into smaller subtasks. And this was when I thought that let us start building this to-do app, and it would be a good idea since the current apps which do support this feature, like Todoist has this feature, but they charge like around 2K, and it would be nice to have explore this field and explore this particular idea, and then see that whether or not we can do it in lesser cost to the customer. And like, let's say if we're able to provide it for a lesser cost, then it would be a good product for the market as well. So this is the starting point which gave me the motivation to start this app. Now today's discussion will be pertaining to just the basic features which are provided by To-Do app, and which will include the manual addition of the subtasks to a task, but it will not include the automatic creation of the subtasks for a particular task. So now let us just quickly start off with discussing the different requirements of this particular To-Do app, and how will we come up with the different requirements for this To-Do app. So when you imagine that a particular application needs to be hosted online for people to be able to add their own to-dos, there needs to be a unique way to identify the users, right? So how do you think it would be what do you think would be a good design in order to identify a user? So one thing which comes to my mind is that the user logs in based on their email and they generate a password. So and in order to log in, they'll have to register. So this will be the first basic structure of the page. If you can see on the board, so there will be a login button, a register button, an email, and a password. So email, password, login, register. So the entire idea of this first page will be for the user to be in. I think it is not very clear. Let me just draw it a little bigger. Yeah. So this is the email. Password, text box, and then login and register. Okay. Now this is the first structure of that. Now for this particular supporting this particular UI, the user will need to we will need to have the app is having support of login and register. Now it's the next thing, the next UI where the user will go, once the user has basically the flow where the user will come and register first. Once it is registered, it will log in, and then finally it will be navigated to the home page. So here there will be a list of to-dos. This is to-do 1, to-do 2. These will be the to-dos which will be associated with the user, just with the user. We don't need to show the to-dos which are associated with the other users, only the user. So basically this is the email as identifier for that. Now the other thing which we will have is the task input and add button and a logo button. This is done. Now there will also be some subtask associated with this. So subtask 1 subtask 2, and so on. And then there will be a capability to just mark this to do as done, and then this to do will go away. Okay. So for this particular supporting this particular UI, we need the following backends. Let's say following backend APIs or following backend requirements need to be met. We need to have an backend for addition of a add task. We need logout, and we need add subtask. Then we need update or complete task, and finally we need update or complete subtask. Okay. So with these 7 features or 7 requirements met, I think we are good to go with the Todo app. Okay. So with this in place, what is the next thing which we should keep in mind, or one of the things which will be an important thing to know? So we need to know the database schema. So like once the database schema of the user is known, we will be able to start off with the test code, where the test code will basically initiate like registration for the user or the login of a user, and it will be actually dealing with the actual database. So to reach there, the first thing we need to do is to prepare the schema. And one thing which I would like to mention here is that we are talking about the test code first and not directly starting with the backend code. And this is something which we will be discussing later, but this is called test-driven development. So the way it helps is that you can actually, the iteration of writing code becomes really fast. So you don't need to start your application each time you are making a change in your code. Also, like you build a lot of confidence on your application. So whenever you make a change, if the UT fails, you know that there is something which is going wrong. Like it is very tough to look at the application as a whole when you are making a change in a small part of the code, right? Like it is the tests take care of that job. And whenever you are deploying your application, if you run all the tests before that, and you should do that, you know that in the production, at least the tests will not fail. And that by writing the test, you should make sure that all the different scenarios, all the failure scenarios, all the positive scenarios, and like how metadata is being changed, or what UI components are being rendered. So there can be UTs for the UI as well. Like once user logs in on the page, the new page should be visible. These kind of UTs are actually very useful for a productionized project. So we will be looking at the backend UTs, and for that, let us quickly look at the schema. So what do you think do you need for the login page which we had here? So we need a collection called users. Why are we naming it users? Because it will store the information about the users. And then we need username, we need the password, and we need to make sure that the database doesn't show the exact password. So this will be a hash value of the password. Okay, now this will be done, and the second one will be your to-dos collection. Why do we need that? We need to have to-dos associated with this username. So we have a username, which will be a foreign key, we'll have an ID of the tool. We'll have a subtask list. We have subtask ID. We have completed for subtask, and we have text for subtask. Similarly, we have text for tools and completed for tools. So this will help us address all the different 5 requirements we had for the tools page, which meaning adding a subtask. We will basically push it into the subtask array. Adding a task. This document will be created with an empty subtask array. The text will be, of course, the part of adding of the task. The completed will be marked as false initially, and showing on the home page all this for tools. We will be just finding the documents which are actually not completed. Similarly, subtasks will have this completed mark. So like if it is marked as completed, on the page we will be showing a tick mark along with the subtask. So this takes care of that. We need to have a subtask ID in order to identify that this is a subtask. Like this is a subtask for which we need to mark it as completed, or we need to mark it as not completed. So this is about it. Now let us quickly dive in to the way we will be setting up the DB. Okay, so we are using MongoDB Atlas, and for that I will have to switch to my screen. So check where our Atlas is. Right, so let us quickly log out and start from the beginning. Yes, so this is our Atlas account. We will log in using Google. So Atlas gives you this capability of creating a new deployment. Currently, you need to go to shared because dedicated will cost you money. Now the free cluster will not be created for me right now because I already have a cluster which is created for free. So we can just see the cluster currently, okay? And we can see whether or not the schema matches what the schema which we have created right now. So users collection, we have the username, we have the password. We can see the password is actually hashed. Now we have the to-dos. So you can see that the subtask array is here. Now you can see this is the task, this is the user name. So you can see that the task is complete, subtask is completed, and the task is not completed. So this is about it. Now let us quickly see. Let us see how the test code will look. Okay. So we have a test code. Now basically that test code will have to connect to the MongoDB, and the way we are writing the test code is that we don't want to interfere with this DB which is created for production. We have a different DB, and we will be interacting with that. But now how do we interact with this particular DB? So when you look at Atlas in the app driver section, they will show you this particular code, like how exactly you can do that. And this is the exact way I also did that. So this is the sample which I followed. So URI was defined in this manner with my username, and this is my password. And the way I got my username was here. So like database access, you go into database access and you add a new database user, While creating a cluster as well, which we were doing initially, there will be a single user which will be created. You can use that user, or you can create a new user, and you can set your password, and you can add a role based on what you want. And I chose the role of Atlas admin. You can also use this read and write to any database, and it should work just fine. So in fact, it will be better to use that, because you will be having restricted permissions. Admin user should not be exposed to your production. You should be following the least access principle. So yeah, let's just quickly do this. Yeah, so we'll go into the test code now. Okay, so how is it reading? Just like I said, this is my configuration, which involves Mongo URI, MongoDB, and this is the place I am actually using it. Like I am configuring my Mongo in this manner, and this is the where place we are actually calling the application, like the backend application, and this is the slash register route we have currently already implemented in the backend. Now what I would suggest you is that this is fine, you are doing this right. So you need to have a bare bones backend for supporting it, right? You cannot just start off with the test code directly. The test code, the first run of the test code should be supported with a backend with the slash register route at least. So let us quickly look at that route. Okay, so this is the route which we have. You can just write it like this, and what we are now what we are going to do is that we are going to simulate a failure of a test run. Okay, so this is just for demonstration purposes. I am removing my backend code, and what I am going to do here is that I am going to run this test. So let us see what happens, whether the test fails or it succeeds. Ideally it should fail. So yeah, you see that in line 37 test.py it did actually fail. So yeah, somewhere here I think it was checking none, and yeah, this one. So user is not none, but user actually came out to be none. So like this actually did not do anything, which was expected because register has not been implemented. So why will the collection have this user? It will not, right? So when you like now I will quickly just for demonstration purposes again, I will quickly uncomment this and rerun my test code, and it should succeed. So you will slowly realize the benefits of test development, and the next test here, like you can see here, is the login test. We will be checking whether the logged in user is actually resulting in the behavior which we want to. But now quickly let's just switch to the backend code and try to see what exactly is happening in the backend code of register and the other functions as well. So register is the first step which we considered, like the first day zero operation will be registered. So the user, existing user, will be getting this email from the request form. So the basically the request will be coming from the HTML. This post will happen when the user actually clicks on that register button on the HTML. So when that happens, this request will have an email associated with it. Now Now what happens is that basically this we will check that if this existing user is there, then we cannot register it again. We will just tell the user that email has been already registered. Otherwise we will add the user and we will log that the registration has been completed. Now you may be wondering, where is this app defined exactly, and you need this configuration, right, like this app.config MongoDB. So this is the place where we are actually creating that. So and when this particular app.py file is imported at the global level itself, we are creating this app, and this code is actually what it is doing is that it is not running for the test code. So the way configuration is happening in the test code should not be overridden when the test code actually imports it. So we are managing the configuration of the client here, and we are yielding the client from the application itself. So when this particular test register runs, the client will be associated with an app which has been configured here itself. Now we don't want its configuration to be overridden. So what we do here is that we in the configuration at the start of this fixture we say that test mode is on, or it is set to true, and after this yield client, like this is the tear down phase. So in the tear down phase we delete it from the test mode completely, deleted from the environment completely, and basically after that we know that the test code will not be interfering with the production environment, right? So what happens here in this environment setting is basically a setting of log and basically the log rotation handler. So it will set that a particular file cannot contain more than 10,000 bytes, there cannot be more than 3 files. So rotation will happen within this. It will also set the format, it will set the logging level, like basically what is the basic level of log which you want to include. If it will be error, then info logs will not be shown, and similarly this level will also be set for the application logger, and then we will be adding the handler, and we will be configuring from this config object. This config object is actually defined in a different file completely. We want to keep it separate from the actual file. So it has the Mongo URI. You can see it is the same as the one which we saw on the Atlas website. We are also defining the DB here. Here you will see the DB is my2b, but in the test code it was test_my2b. Okay. So this being done, we can now move on to the code of register so basically we add the user, and adding the user basically involves calling a function which has been defined in a different file as well. So this is a way of modularizing code. Now add user can be used other places as well, or basically we don't want the code to be repeated at different places at different backend functionalities. So this is the reason why we have it in a separate file. Now it will basically hash the password based on this salt. We call this as a salt, and then finally insert it into this users collection. Now what do we do next is the login. So basically the user can log in. This is the place where the DB is actually set based similarly as in register, and in the login part basically we compare the hash. Basically the password from the request is compared with the is hashed first, and then it is compared with the password in the DB. So basically this is the get user by email. So it fetches a document. This is actual document with the email and password, which is a hashed password which was saved during the register, it is compared with this password which is passed in the request of login, and based on that the user is actually said that it has been logged in the logs, and then finally it is redirected to this page. Before logging this, we also set this session variable email. So this is the unique identifier that a user has been logged in. So when the session email will be set, there will basically be a cookie which will be shared between the different backend ports. Now register will know that there is some cookie which has been set, which has the user has already been registered. Also, like once the user reaches on the to-do page, the cookie itself can be utilized in order to retrieve the email ID of the user, and that email ID can then be used to fetch the to-dos corresponding to that particular email. So this is a unique identifier to see whether or not a user has been logged in. So let us see the other pages. Once the user logs in, they go to the home page. This is the place where we fetch the to-dos. This will be a find query based on the email completed false. And basically, we don't want the completed to-dos to be shown to the user. Yeah, one thing which we are doing in all these functions is that we are dealing with this exception of Mongo, because we are dealing with Mongo. There can be a Mongo query going on. We want this thing to be logged as well. Also, like, the user will have a better idea that this is the issue happening, and they can communicate to us that the database has gone down or database has that issue, and then we can look into the logs. Because we also have the exception captured, we will be able to identify what the exact issue was with the database. So now let us see that look at the we are done with home, because we are now basically, one thing to note here is that we redirect to the login page if the user is not logged in. So it doesn't make sense for the user to stay on the home page if the user is not logged in. Yes. So this being done, we go to the add to do requirement. We see that this is the place where we fetch the email. So as you mentioned, this is the cookie which was actually set there for this purpose itself, and this is the place where we are actually adding a to-do. So this is the text, this is completed, subtask is empty, now exception is being captured. This is the logout. This is the place where we actually say clear the session. This is again logged, redirected to the login page. So you can see it was in the home page, but now it was routed to the login page. Adding a subtask is again this thing that where we get a task ID. So basically the parent task's ID basically, and subtask name. So this is the text associated with the subtask, and basically we get the task from this here to do by ID, and if not task, then we just redirect to this home page. Otherwise, basically we see that add subtask to do. So this is the task underscore ID, and what we do is that we get the document based on this, and we update it using update underscore one on the single document corresponding to that ID, and push it into the subtasks array. So yeah, now let us go back and see the update task. So update task will basically be setting the update, the status of this one, so completed. So like we have the ID and we set it to the HTML will pass us the task ID. Now task status as well. We see the update subtask. This is the last requirement, and with this we will be done with the requirements. So this is update subtask status. So we have the subtask ID, which is also fetched from the HTML, and we have the status. Now within this, what we are doing is that we are getting the document based on subtask ID, and we are setting for that particular element in the array. So $dollar will represent that particular element in the array, and we will be marking the completed field as equal to the status which has been passed. Okay, so the backend is ready, but we need the HTML as well, right? Because that will help us ensure that we have the user can actually view what they are doing, like they can actually go to the website, right? So how will we do that? Let us quickly switch to the login page. So like you can just visualize what we had drawn before, like the two input boxes, and there were two buttons. So we can see the two buttons present here. So this is for login, this is for register. When the user clicks on the login, they are actually redirected to this submit form, and this is again the same thing happens for register. This is the particular logic for login using if the action is login, this is for register. We get the email dash login. This is representing the text box. So this was defined within this form. The class of this button was defined here, and it was maintained constant with this button here. So basically this form has been defined here in such a way so that basically we don't need to take two different inputs. So the type of this and this is email and password, and they are both same, and the IDs are different. So once this thing happens, like basically we don't need to take two different inputs from the user. Now basically you can see that this is the form which is for login. So what this will essentially do is that this will be calling the /login path on the backend, okay, and the input which will be going will be this one. So one thing which will be going in the request parameters will be this type, this email, and the second one will be this password. So actually not the type parameter but the name parameter. Basically the name parameter will be the input to the request. So let us see, the same thing will happen for register. There is some text. Now other than that, you can see this meta viewport with device width in the header. So what this is doing is that it is making the HTML device independent, and it is saying that the viewport will have the entire device's width, and also its initial scale will be not zoomed at all. So the viewport is the exact view which we should see on the mobiles, and if the mobile is horizontally scrollable, then it includes the entire thing as well, like that particular. So basically from left to right, entire thing, from horizontal scroll, that is the viewport of a particular thing. Here basically we are getting the style sheet, which is login.css. It will be defined in the static folder of this application. So over here, okay. So the next thing is login register is done. So this is done. So we have this particular flashes. So these are the flashes which were sent from the user from the backend. If you remember, we had sent it for registration completed, for email already registered, and all those things. And here basically we need to show the user that the flashes are being done. So like this is the place where this is the submit code. We are getting the login, and we are getting the login password. This is the value of the login email and the login password, and then finally we will be doing this submit. So login email is something which was defined over here. So this is the value, and the shared email is something which was fetched from this one. right? So this is the basically this is the element of the particular thing. Okay, so this will, what it will basically do is that in that form this particular input will be set, and in this way, and then finally it will, when on submit, it will be sent. The same inputs like the email, password will be sent to the respective posts which are defined above. Now here basically this is the flash, this is the code for fading away the flashes after 10 seconds. So this will be 10, and we will be removing after this is the option to remove the flash element from the DOM after it has been faded out. So it doesn't make sense to keep this particular flash element in the DOM after it has been faded out, so you just do that. And yeah, this is about login HTML. And now, so again, this is the part where we are setting the code for device independence, and we are importing the style sheets. And then we have the code for adding a to-do, and the header itself, inside the header will have the add to-do form. This is the input where we will be having the text. This is the submit button for a particular ad, which will be which will be clicked on the ad. This is the logout href. Now what happens here is that we have the, basically if the to-dos are passed to this particular thing, so you can see that if the to-dos are not there, like we can see to-dos, yeah, so get all to-dos by email, and this is, you can see the render template has this passed, so you are passing this as a parameter to home.html. So if you see the login HTML, no, the home HTML, so yeah, if the to-dos are empty, then the tasks have been all completed. Otherwise there are some tasks and we need to iterate them and show them to the user. So we have this div for all the tasks in to-dos. We are having this particular toggle subtask button, which will be shown only if there are subtasks. Like we will not be showing an up down button. So like if you visualize this, you can see this page. So it should look like this. So this is all tasks have been completed. Add a new to do, add logout. This is the add button which we had defined here. Value was add, class is action button. Input type is equal to submit. So the type is the thing which identifies that this is the submit button. And this is a hyperlink, so it is shown as a blue thing. Now if not to-dos, and yeah, like this is the elsewhere code, this is the task container on click. So yeah, this is a toggle subtasks button. So when you click on this particular thing, these are the subtasks which are shown. Now similarly we have this post for add subtask. This is the text, and yeah, this should be pretty much it in terms of the logic. But yeah, let's see the scripts which we have here. So toggle subtasks is actually changing the inner text of this one. So you can see that this up down, obviously the less than thing is becoming V. So this one is there, and then there is this toggle add button. So this until the user doesn't until the user adds a subtask, basically they cannot post that subtask. Like empty subtask is not something which we allow. So this is the code which is handling that. Okay, so this is fine. Now we can quickly look at the CSS of the login page and the home page, and so at a high level, basically we have body, and there is this flex display which aligns the child components of this body in a very visually appealing way, and there are some properties which are which come along with this display flex, such like justify content and align items, which help us vertically and horizontally align the elements which are children of this particular HTML DOM element. So things like we are trying to make the website elegant, so we have added things like on hover what will happen. So like you can see like the shadow of the box changing if the user is actually hovering. Also the website going up. So if you see the website now looking at the website, it looks like this. So this is the email, this is the login register. We are on login.css, so you can see this yeah, like you can see this going up, right? Like yeah, so this is the thing which happens on over. The login container is going up. Now this is again color, background color will change if it hovers and all those things. Now there are some, this thing has been rounded, so you can see that based on this border radius there is a box shadow, then there is this transition. So like with this transition, whatever transition is happening basically on hover will happen slowly, it will not look like it happens very fast. And we have these are the logic for flashes. So if someone enters a wrong email, let's say like @ something, and tries to log in, then they need to show, we will be showing the flashes here at the very end. So we also need to have some logic around that, like how will it look. So that is pretty much it for the login CSS. For home CSS, we have some additional logic to, this is like media query. So this is for particular devices which are very small. We have actually reduced the width of the input box of subtasks. So yeah, let us quickly look at that. Yeah, so we have the subtask here. Now one thing which I would like to show here is the Chrome developer tools. So you can actually change the dimensions of this. So this is how the page will look on a website which is like a mobile. So we have actually changed the subtask. We will, so the user is able to add some more text here, like there is some more space, otherwise it will go into the next row, right? So yeah, this is it. This is about the HTML. I think it's covered most of the stuff overall. Yes, so yeah, we can definitely look at the code and try to see the different parameters, try to play around with what each parameter does here. Like yeah, you can see that yeah, so these are the fonts which we have actually identified, which we have included, and this is like the fallback font. Basically, if this Arial font is not available, then this font will be used. We have also one thing to notice here, that we are using percentages. So these percentages help us in the device device independence. Like if we have pixels exactly hard coded, then it can go wrong for smaller devices. Like the visualization will not be that great. Yes, so let us now with the HTML part done, let us see how we actually a few things which we actually did in order to modularize the code. So we have already talked about separating this code logic. We have subset doubles config, and we have added logs here, so that we are able to see what, if any issue occurs, what issue that was exactly on a customer. And we have added exceptions. We have shown users what useful visible exceptions, so that they can know what exactly is happening, what they have done wrong, what they need to do in order to change. Now yeah, there is some input validation which has been done, like we cannot enter an empty task. So these are the things which come next. And then finally what we need to do is that we need to update this, we need to deploy this application, and in order to do that we need to use render. But before that we need the requirements file. So we had actually created a virtual environment in Python, and you can see what the command for that is, and then we also outputted the requirements.txt. so there is the command for that as well. And basically after that is done, like on the render page, what we did was that on the dashboard basically we just logged in into the render. So if you see, this also came for free. So yeah, we logged in. So you go to the new, then web service, then basically you need the GitHub repository. So you do need to after you're done with these code changes, you need to push your code to Git. You can do it from the VCS, or you can do it on the terminal, and then finally you can post your GitHub repository. So if you have this, make it public, and put it here and continue. And yeah, like basically the next step will be that it will ask you for the name. It will also ask you for the requirements.txt file. So it will be installing only these. So it will be running inside a container, which is nice because it will be lightweight application. This is the start command which you will need to enter. So we are using gunicorn, so you do need to pip install gunicorn also. Now we could have used Flask's application server as well, but it is also a good one, but on production environments gunicorn is a much better one. It is much robust, and it is more efficient. It also provides the capability of adding more workers, so like then more workers will be handling your code, and load balancing will happen that way. So yeah, this is pretty much it. You can see the dash service going live here. This is after, if you've posted a new commit, you can deploy the latest command from here. The deploy might require some requirements.txt changes. Like there can be some versions which might not be supported in the pip version on Flask, and then you need to change the requirements.txt file accordingly. With that you can handle. Yeah, I think this is pretty much it. You can see the application once more if you want. It is already live. I will be sharing the link. So this is the login. Once the login is done, the user can enter the tasks and subtasks. This drop down will ensure that only the visible things go. Only this drop down will be shown only when the subtask will be there. Apart from this, there will be some improvements which can be done. So definitely we were talking about to-dos being so yeah, we were talking about this to-dos being automatically yeah, so we were talking about to-dos being automatically like subtasks being automatically generated for particular to-do, and that can definitely be helpful. In this case, yeah, you can see like this is a subtask. You can enter some task start, and then yeah, it will go here, and yeah, you can see it's happening here. If you mark it as done, it will go away, and yeah, like you can add new to-dos. Yeah, you can this command is disabled, log out. Yes, okay, thank you for joining in. It was a wonderful session for me personally, a wonderful learning experience. I really hope there would be some few nuggets of information which would be useful for you as well while you are designing your next application. And if you have any suggestions of creating that AI application, do definitely post in the comments. Thanks a lot for joining in.